Jocasta is releasing in Marvel Snap in approximately 4 hours from now for at least my time. So let's decide proactively, is Jocasta good or garbage? Or garbage or garbage? I don't know what that was. But my early prediction after looking at the decks in which she is viable, I am going to pre-predict after you like and subscribe down below and we take a look at the card itself. Let's talk Jocasta. 3/3, activate. Immediately activate your other cards here without using up their activate abilities. Now, a couple of things with this card. Okay, number one, this is not on reveal. So this is not play down the activate card, like choose a 1-cost one, like, I don't know, Aranya, and then play Jocasta and it uses the activate ability. You have to get this down on the board and use the activate the following turn. Now, several different play lines I like about this card. Number one, I like the idea of playing it down as a turn 5 card to reproc abilities that have already been used prior to activate them on turn 6. The tough part about this card is that it's a 3-cost. So you have only half the game in which you can actually play the card, but when you do play the card, you have to maximize its potential. So be very careful in how you deck build using Jocasta. The other way to play this out is have Jocasta down on the board early, then play down an activate card and activate Jocasta. So for example, using the same Aranya synergy, have Jocasta down on 3, play, I don't know, Vulture play Aranya, activate Jocasta, then play Vulture, and it will move that Vulture. So you still have the Aranya ability to then move it again because it was the last card played if you activate afterwards. But you could use it on another card. So the timing in which these activates are going to happen is why I think this card is actually going to be very good long-term. Prediction. This is not something that we will be able to solve within the good or garbage video. I think this is a card that, with time, we will find the busted combo, and it will be fantastic. Because this card alone also brings light to other cards that want to be good, like Awesome Andy, who just got a buff, is now a 2/2, right? Awesome Andy gives +2 to 2 other random cards in other lanes. So his total value right now is a 2/6, which is pretty good, but it's an activate. Mix that with Jocasta, now that's a 2/10. And now Awesome Andy actually might be awesome. So I want you to think about that kind of stuff as we go into these decks with Jocasta about when do you want to play this card? Before the other activates or after the other activates? Because this activate ability will be able to reuse activates that have also already been used. Remember that. So let's take a look at the 4 decks that I've got built for today. First off is Jover. Now, this is probably a variation of what I will predict is going to end up being the best style of deck for Jocasta. It is a Invisible Woman First Steps deck. But I went back to Merc Ball. And the reason I did is because typically this deck wants to run Juggernaut. With this card releasing this week, I've already been talking about Aranya, right? I think that move, which is a deck we will get to later on, I think that move actually does have a lot of potential this week, and I will expect to see move decks more and more and more present in the meta as more people take the time to invest into those. So I think Mercury's value goes way up. And I was debating about, do I want to use Mercury as just a tech card, or do I want to go back to a destruction era and bring Cannonball back into the mix? Now, Thing First Steps obviously wants Invisible Woman First Steps and Fantastic Car, and it can scale that card crazy high, and that's your tall option. But I do think it needs another tall option available. Simultaneously, I wanted to make sure that Jocasta had more than just Sue and Fantastic Car, so I actually went Jennifer Kale. And Jennifer Kale, giving that extra energy later on, feeds nicely into the line of what this deck typically wants to do, which is not play Thena or Havoc on turn 2. Jennifer Kale on the other end, that's great, because now you've got extra energy that you could double up on and then end up on a 8 energy turn 6, which is much more valuable to a deck like this that wants a Sunspot at the very end, wants that to double up, maybe, you know, quadruple up, depending on how you play it out and what locations are on the board. I think that this style of deck is going to be very good. And I went back and forth about using Marvel Boy as well, and I decided to cut Marvel Boy and Black Cat because I didn't want to be resting exclusively on Black Cat and knowing I had to play it out every single turn every single turn that it's drawn. So instead, I stuck with just Hydra Bob and Sunspot to give me that flexibility of play the cards on curve as I want to play them, because you're going to need that control. And I don't want to risk a 1-5 messing that up. So I went away from that possible Marvel Boy line, but it is a line to consider. If you want to take out Mercury and Cannonball, go ahead and play Marvel Boy and Black Cat, and it could absolutely work the same way. So that's ItsJover. Next up, because I got high, it's a high Evo deck with Warlock. I said it last week, Warlock's true potential is going to get unlocked with Jocasta. It really is. I think it's going to be an incredibly strong card because you're going to get unspent energy, skip, activate, boom, boom, activate, activate. I mean, doubling up the amount of reductions that go into your hand, then allow Sunspot to go crazy high, get the Hulk and the She-Hulk down, plus now we've got Invisible Woman First Steps and Fantastic Card, which is benefiting Hulk, it's benefiting Cyclops, it's benefiting Misty Knight, it's benefiting Sunspot. So we're taking the best of both worlds, because I was debating about, do I want to do a Moon Girl style deck, and I opted not to. This is me saying, you don't have Mobius. But if you do, bye. Second Mobius is down against this deck, GTFO, just get out, just goodbye. Next up, C3 Activate. This one was fun to cook. I've already talked about the benefit of Jennifer Kale. I've already talked about the benefit of Warlock. Put them all together with an Omega Sentinel, and now a Black Widow. And Jocasta has multiple targets that you can stack into on one lane and then later scale it with Cerebro. This is a crazy one here. This I absolutely know it is. But someone earlier, I forget who said it earlier in the live chat, was talking about Ghost Spider. And Ghost Spider, I think, is going to be great with Jocasta, especially in this deck, because what it's going to want to do is have Jocasta be played down on, let's say, you know, turn 5. Excuse me. You've got Black Widow in a lane, you've got Warlock in a lane already. And then you just go ham on turn 6. Turn 6 starts, you activate Black Widow, you activate Warlock, you activate Jocasta, and then Ghost Spider to move out the Jocasta from that lane. And now you've got the power redistributed, but you still got the effects to happen a second time. I really like that with C3, because I wanted to do C3 originally with the one that we worked on last week, where we were messing around with discard C3 and swarms. And as I got further into the activate side of things, I was like, you know what? If we're really leaning into this, let's lean into this. So I got rid of that synergy and I decided to go all in here. We've got Luke Cage. Magic is our location control for this effect, because Merlin still is not being played enough. I don't know why, but I'm going to lean into the Magic synergy on this one, and I think that Valkyrie is constantly under-respected as a card, and we learned from the Synthezoid takeover of tech that Valkyrie is a strong card. So I think people expect it less and less and less, even when they know it's C3. So I love this. Omega Sentinel getting that to proc off twice. It's a 417. Guys, how could this be bad? Famous last words. Lastly, what we named the stream today, I also named the 4th deck. I told you we would get to it. It's the Move deck. Jocasta La Vista, baby. Look, puns are hard to come by with the name Jocasta. So I leaned into Move with Jocasta, because I can't wait to see how the sequencing of Sparky and Aranya work with Jocasta? I'm really curious. I have no idea how this deck is going to work. This could be god-awful. This could be fantastic. Because I do think the ability of getting Sparky to happen twice is huge. Because it's move, targeted, plus power. Aranya is move, targeted, plus power. Yeah, like, I just don't see how this ends up being really a bad thing. It might feel awkward because you're doing very little moves up until turn 5, but then all of a sudden you're activating things, you're playing Hellion, and then you're moving with Madam Web, and this is just all in on move. This is all, I looked at the Galactus First Steps in Alioth style decks. I was looking at the Living Tribunal style decks, and the more I sat on the synergy of what I want this to do, the more I decided to lean into what Move organically wants to do as a base archetype. What you get when you first start the game, when the game first launched. The best Series 1 decks, I constantly have said, Series 1 and Series 2 are go into Move decks because they are difficult, but if you learn them early, they are ridiculously fantastic for your rank, and you shoot right up because it is a harder archetype to go up against if you're not familiar with it. But now we're starting to see Move become more and more popular with what, in my opinion, so far has been the best card of the season, Sparky, and now Jocasta has the ability to make that happen twice. So there's so many different ways that you could go with a Move build with Jocasta because of Sparky, but I do think that this is really, really cool. I think that there's something here, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'm hoping it does the best out of the 4 decks. Nothing against C3, nothing against High Evo, nothing against what we'll call the First Steps decks. But I really want the Move deck to do best because I truly believe it has the potential to be a really scary deck. Let's find out. Cheers. There we go. I hope you cheersed back because we have now transported 10 hours to the future, where now we have played Jocasta and I have learned quite a few things. Let's dive right in, okay? So first off, we'll talk about the Invisible Woman First Steps deck. I'll say confidently, this build right here, not it. But I did go up quite a few, and I do want to point out a couple of things. Okay, a lot of people were trying this variations of this deck, whether it was the Marvel Boy variations, but the key card that this deck was missing, hands down, was Prodigy. Prodigy made this deck go crazy kaboom, like ridiculously. So I'm gonna recommend taking out Jennifer Kale. The Mercury Cannonball side, it had its moments, but I think you could definitely take out Jennifer Kale and Cannonball and go with Prodigy and really any other synergetic card at that point. And it was really quite solid then because we lost to that more than this one. So to me, that screams, hey, this is a big deal here. So this archetype for Jocasta, very good. Oh, I just realized I never refreshed any of them to prove that. Look, I promise. See, I actually do have the card here. That's a lie. I have the card here. Refresh. Promise, I have the card. I have the stats to prove it. It's Jover, and that's the name, clearly. Let's go on. So let's talk about this here. The Evo deck was surprisingly good. Not perfect. Let me be very clear here. Not perfect. But there's something to this, and I think it was because of that synergy between the Invisible Woman First Steps fantastic car piece that made this deck run smoothly. When this deck popped off, man, did it pop off. But Bruce Banner let me down more than I wish to admit. So I'm probably taking out Bruce Banner for literally anything else at this point, but we'll find out. So we'll have to revisit this one a second time, and we'll figure it out from there. But this archetype with Evo and Jocasta, definitely saw something in there too. As for Cerebro 3, this deck was missing one piece, and it's taking out US Agent and replacing it for Gorgon, because the Gorgon Black Widow line is crazy strong with this build, but it's not Warlock. Warlock was a little bit copium. I think if you just take out US Agent and then we replace Warlock with something else, C3 has a much better chance here. But with a little bit of tweaking, C3 could be average. I just don't think it's still better than Cerebro 2 at baseline actually is. Lastly is the move deck. Now, I'll say confidently, this was the most difficult deck to make Jocasta work in. But in the moments where you got that extra Aranya play or that extra Sparky play, the ordering is tricky. I messed it up quite a few times where you needed to get the order right of getting down Aranya, then a Jocasta, then a Sparky, or just making sure that Jocasta's in the middle of the two to have the Sparky effect go once and then back. And this is a difficult deck. Let me be very clear here. I want to keep practicing this deck after tonight because I think the ceiling of this deck is way higher than my statistics are absolutely showing. There are opportunities within this that could probably be manipulated a bit. Absolutely. I would like to maybe see some either Fan Fei mixed in here instead of Heimdall. I might want to see something like Topaz mixed in here to help out with the Human Torch one extra time. Maybe it's Hercules. I don't know. But there's something with the Aranya, Sparky, Jocasta move combo that says play now. Like, absolutely play now. Maybe it's by incorporating it further into bounce. I don't know. But this was the most promising with the highest ceiling. Statistically speaking, on all of these decks, the Evo deck did the best. It absolutely did the best, but not by much. And I think it was because I was leaning too heavy into the Jocasta Warlock line rather than leaning more into the Invisible Woman line, because I wanted to get the double Warlock here. This is just hybriding two decks together that didn't necessarily needed to be hybrided together to be successful. I think you lean all into Evo or all into Invisible Woman first steps. And even by playing, look at this. This had a positive win rate, barely, but it did, yet lost a Cuba game. And I truly believe that was because we were trying so hard to make this Cannonball, Mercury, and Kale line work that didn't need to necessarily work. Prodigy putting the ceiling on that is going to be 10 times better. And we saw that in practice. We absolutely saw that in practice. The Activate deck, you can see I stopped playing this one. This one just did not do anything. So I must highlight the promise of move, because I'm not a top-end move player. But if you put this in the hands of somebody like Sizer, who's a really, really good move player, or Timmy Trogdor, or Lambie Series, or like any move main, something with Jocasta, Aranya, Sparky is going to become like meta relevant in the top end of Infinite. So if you are an advanced player, this is a deck for Jocasta I would absolutely recommend. If you are not a advanced player and you're not confident in move, and it's okay to admit that, it's being blatantly honest. If you're not confident in this, go with either Evo or the Invisible Woman First Steps decks. So, in conclusion, is Jocasta actually good or garbage? Based on tonight's results, I am going to say that Jocasta is good, even though my statistics might say otherwise. But that's because of my safe understanding of who I am as a player. And a lot of times we would stay for a little bit of cope because we're live streaming and we admit that. Am I saying that these decks are bad? Some of them, but not all of them. What I want you to take from this video is the potential of what this card can do. And it only takes one, maybe two synergies in a deck to justify Jocasta being in the deck. Put two activates in there, you can justify Jocasta. And I think that a lot of other archetypes want to benefit from that. I do think we're going to see more awesome Andys. I do think we're going to see some more chaos come this week because people are going to discover more and more ways to make this work. You're going to see Nomura decks pop off because of it. You're going to end up seeing Fanfei make appearances randomly and move because it's an activate. There's a lot of cool things that this card can do. And we only got to tap into, you know, under 80 games. And I wasn't doing it well. But I know in the right hands with the right build, this is a 60% win rate deck or card in those decks without hesitation. This is a good card and will only get better with time as more activates come out. So take advantage of it, get this card, have some fun, but be afraid to fail because it's more difficult than I ever anticipated it to be. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. What type of deck are you going to build with it? What have you seen as a successful combination? And we'll talk about it down there. But as always, I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'll see you next time. Are we doing a Super Adaptoid video? No, there's not. That's an interesting question too, because like, I think they just straight up released Super Adaptoid because they want to make sure that we have a counter right away, because they learned from the Invisible Woman First Steps decks that if you don't have a counter right away, someone will break it and then the meta sucks. So instead, they're just going to release the counter to Jocasta, which is Super Adaptoid, on day one. So you can spend 5,000 tokens on getting the strong card or 2,500 tokens on getting the counter to say, shut up. But I think Super Adaptoid's only going to be good for like the next week and that's it. Honestly. Again, famous last words.